The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning, buried in the routine data stream from humanity's furthest deep space probe. Dr. Elena Santos sat frozen at her workstation in the Atacama Space Observatory, her coffee growing cold as she triple-checked the signal analysis. After 20 years of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, she'd found something, but not the kind of message anyone had hoped for. "Director Chen," she called, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You need to see this." The signal was clear, organized, and unmistakably artificial. But it wasn't directed at Earth. It was a conversation between multiple sources, discussing Earth, discussing plans, none of them good. Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed her findings. Hidden in the cosmic background radiation, humanity had stumbled upon the communications network of what would soon be known as the Stellar Concordat, an alliance of 7 spacefaring species that had been watching Earth for decades. Their message traffic painted a chilling picture. Earth was deemed a potential destabilizing element in their carefully managed galactic order. Their solution: containment, or if necessary, elimination. But they had made a crucial mistake. They assumed that because humanity couldn't match their level of technology, we couldn't detect their communications. They were wrong. In the weeks that followed, every major space agency on Earth worked around the clock, decoding more of the Concordat's transmissions. The picture that emerged was both terrifying and inspiring. The aliens had technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities: antimatter drives, energy weapons, faster than light travel. But they also had weaknesses: their rigid hierarchies, their reliance on pure technology, their dismissal of humanity as primitive. These would be their undoing. Admiral Sarah Jung stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her holographic presentation showing the positions of the Concordat's fleet. "They're preparing for a show of force," she explained, her expression grim but determined. "They'll arrive in formation, display their technological superiority, and demand our submission. It's what they've done to other emerging civilizations." "And what do you propose, Admiral?" asked the council chairman. Zhang smiled, but there was steel in her eyes. "They expect us to wait, to react. They don't understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to take initiative. We strike first, but not where they expect." The plan was audacious. While the Concordat assembled their fleet for their grand demonstration, humanity would launch Operation Blindside. They wouldn't target the aliens' warships. They couldn't hope to match them in direct combat. Instead, they would strike at something the Concordat had never thought to defend: their observation posts scattered throughout the solar system. These stealth platforms, hidden in asteroid fields and orbital shadows, had been watching Earth for years. The Concordat thought them undetectable. But humanity had spent centuries developing ways to find things that didn't want to be found. The first phase began silently. Small, seemingly primitive chemical rockets launched what appeared to be communication satellites. The Concordat's observers noted these launches but dismissed them as typical human technological baby steps. They didn't realize each rocket also carried clusters of microsatellites, their surfaces coated with metamaterials that made them nearly invisible to the alien sensors. These tiny hunters spread through the solar system, using basic infrared detection and gravity mapping. Technology so simple the Concordat didn't even bother to shield against them. One by one, they found the observation posts by looking not for the stations themselves, but for the subtle gravitational effects they had on nearby space debris. When Operation Blindside was launched, it struck simultaneously at every hidden outpost. The weapons weren't energy beams or antimatter torpedoes. They were clouds of tungsten pellets, accelerated to incredible speeds by simple mass drivers. Against such primitive kinetic weapons, the Concordat's advanced shields proved useless. They were designed to deflect energy weapons and missiles, not thousands of hypervelocity projectiles. By the time the Concordat realized what was happening, their entire observation network was compromised. The few surviving stations transmitted confused, panicked messages back to their fleet. The primitives weren't behaving like primitives at all. Admiral Zhang watched the tactical displays as reports of successful strikes came in. "Send the message," she ordered. Across every frequency the Concordat used, in their own language, Earth broadcast. "Your surveillance network has been neutralized. Your assessment of humanity is flawed. We know you're coming. We're ready, and we're not waiting." The response from the Concordat fleet was instant: confusion, disbelief, and the first glimmer of uncertainty. They had planned to overwhelm humanity with their technological superiority. Instead, humanity had struck first, using methods so simple they had never considered defending against them. As the Concordat's grand fleet adjusted course for an emergency response rather than their planned display of force, Admiral Zhang addressed her staff. "They think technology alone wins wars. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon has always been our ability to innovate, to find unexpected solutions, to do what our enemies think impossible." She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the approaching Concordat fleet. "They wanted to contain us because they feared what we might become. They're about to find out what we already are." The stellar Concordat's response fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system, expecting to find chaos. Instead, they found silence. Where their observation posts had been, clouds of debris drifted in the void. Their advanced sensors swept the space between planets, searching for signs of human military buildup, but found only what appeared to be primitive satellites and scattered mining operations. Commander Zixtal of the Concordat flagship Inevitable Order clicked his mandibles in frustration. "These readings cannot be correct," he chittered to his senior staff. "A species capable of detecting and destroying our stealth platforms must have advanced military technology. Yet we detect nothing beyond their crude chemical rockets and basic ion engines." His science officer, a crystalline being named Verishan, shifted forms thoughtfully. "Perhaps that is exactly what they want us to see." On Earth, in a facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Marcus Chen watched the alien fleet's scan patterns with satisfaction. "They're looking for what they expect to find," he reported to Admiral Zhang. "Advanced power signatures, quantum communications, antimatter storage. They're not finding any of it because we're not using any of it." The Admiral nodded, studying the holographic display, showing the positions of Earth's true defense fleet. To the Concordat sensors, they appeared to be simple mining ships and orbital maintenance vehicles. In reality, each one was a carefully crafted weapon of war, designed using principles so basic the aliens had long since abandoned them. "Show me the test results from Project Retrograde," Zhang ordered. Chen brought up footage from their latest weapons trial. A small, seemingly primitive Earth ship approached a target designed to simulate Concordat shielding technology. The alien shields operated on quantum principles, creating impenetrable energy barriers. But Earth's weapons didn't try to penetrate them at all. Instead, the test ship released what looked like a cloud of metallic dust. The particles, each one a microscopic mechanical computer running on simple binary code, attached themselves to the shield's surface. Rather than trying to break through the barrier, they exploited its very perfection. The quantum shield's precisely organized energy patterns provided a perfect lattice for the dust to arrange itself into crude but effective circuits. "The simpler the technology, the harder it is to detect," Chen explained. "Each particle is barely more advanced than a pocket calculator, but together they form networks that can rewrite the shield's quantum matrix. The aliens are looking for complex systems to hack. They're not prepared for technology that's too primitive to hack." Across the solar system, humanity's preparations were hidden in plain sight. Asteroid mining operations concealed mass driver weapons powerful enough to accelerate chunks of rock to relativistic speeds. Orbital repair drones carried swarms of mechanical infiltrators designed to turn the aliens' own technology against them. Communication satellites masked arrays of simple radio telescopes that tracked the quantum wake of Concordat ships. In the asteroid belt, Captain Maya Patel commanded one of Earth's disguised defense platforms. From the outside, it looked like a typical mining station. Inside, It was a testament to humanity's approach to fighting a technologically superior enemy. "They're scanning us again," her sensor officer reported. "Let them look," Paddle replied. "All they'll see is what they expect to see. Primitive humans using fusion torches to melt asteroids." She didn't mention the station's true purpose: housing a network of mass draggers that could launch streams of superheated plasma, disguised as mining exhaust, with enough force to overwhelm even Concordat shields. The aliens' dismissal of human technology had become their greatest weakness. They looked for threats that matched their understanding of warfare: antimatter bombs, quantum weapons, artificial intelligence. They weren't prepared for an enemy that had deliberately embraced simpler solutions. Back on the inevitable order, Commander Zixtal received reports from his scout ships with growing unease. "Their technology is consistent with our intelligence," he noted. "Chemical propulsion, nuclear power, primitive AI. Yet they somehow detected and destroyed our most advanced stealth platforms." Perhaps, his strategic officer suggested, we should consider that their technological level and their capabilities are not necessarily correlated. The commander dismissed the notion. "Impossible. No species can advance militarily without corresponding technological progress. Prepare the fleet for the containment operation. We will show these humans the true meaning of advanced warfare." In her Rocky Mountain Command Center, Admiral Zhang received word of the Concordat fleet's movement. "They're forming up for their demonstration of force," she announced to her staff. "Right on schedule." "Are we ready?" Chen asked. Zhang smiled. "We've been ready since we first detected their signals. They think they're facing a primitive species that needs to be contained. They're about to learn that humanity's greatest advantage isn't our technology. It's our understanding that sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective." She turned to her communications officer. "Signal all units. Operation Retrograde is now active. Let's show the Concordat why assuming your enemy is primitive might be the last mistake they ever make." Across the solar system, humanity's hidden fleet began to move. To the Concordat sensors, it would appear as nothing more than normal commercial traffic: mining ships, maintenance vehicles, and transport craft going about their business. They would never see the true threat until it was too late. The aliens had come to contain what they saw as a primitive species. Instead, they had walked into a trap laid by an enemy that had turned their own assumptions into a weapon. Humanity wasn't advancing along the technological path the Concordat expected. They were forging their own path, one that would soon teach the aliens a harsh lesson about underestimating their opponents. The first shots of the Battle of the Asteroid Belt weren't energy beams or plasma torpedoes. They were clouds of industrial waste, the byproduct of 1,000 mining operations, suddenly changing course in perfect synchronization. To the Concordat sensors, it appeared to be nothing more than space debris affected by solar winds. By the time they realized the truth, it was too late. The clouds of metallic particles enveloped the advanced ships of the Concordat fleet, their quantum shields flaring brilliantly as they attempted to repel the assault. But these weren't weapons to be deflected. They were tools to be used. Each microscopic particle attached itself to the energy barriers, forming vast networks of primitive but effective circuits. "Impossible." Commander Zixtal raged as reports flooded in. Ship after ship reported shield failures, but not from overload or penetration. Their quantum barriers were being reprogrammed by technology, so basic it bypassed all their security protocols. How can they be doing this with such primitive systems? On the mining station Olympus, now revealed as a command center for Earth's asteroid belt defense, Captain Maya Patel watched the first phase of Operation Retrograde unfold. "Launch the next wave," she ordered. "Let's show them what else we've been hiding in plain sight." What the Concordat had dismissed as crude mining equipment revealed their true nature. Mass draggers, disguised as mineral extractors, began launching streams of superheated plasma masked as mining exhausts. The alien fleet, their shields compromised by the particle attack, found themselves facing weapons that turned their own defensive technology against them. "They're adapting. Patil's tactical officer reported. Their shields are changing frequency to prevent particle adhesion. As expected, Patil replied. Signal all units. Initiate Phase 2. Across the asteroid belt, hundreds of seemingly abandoned mining sites activated. But instead of conventional weapons, they began broadcasting on frequencies the Concordat considered too primitive to be a threat. Simple radio waves, modulated in patterns that precisely matched the resonant frequencies of the aliens' hull materials. Admiral Zhang, monitoring from Earth, watched as the Concordat fleet's formation began to break apart. They built their ships to withstand energy weapons and antimatter explosions, she explained to her staff. They never considered defending against basic wave mechanics. The alien vessels, their hulls vibrating under the assault of precisely tuned radio waves, were forced to scatter. Their tight, geometric formation, perfect for modern space warfare, became a liability. Ships collided as they tried to escape the resonance fields, their advanced navigation systems confused by the seemingly random patterns of human attacks. In the chaos, humanity's true fleet revealed itself. Mining ships shed their civilian coverings, revealing weapons designed not to overpower the aliens' technology, but to exploit its perfection. Maintenance drones released swarms of mechanical infiltrators that targeted the now exposed weak points in Concordat ship design. Commander Zixtal watched in horror as his fleet's carefully planned containment operation dissolved into chaos. Fall back, he ordered. Regroup beyond the resonance field. But retreat wasn't as simple as engaging their quantum drives. The humans had scattered simple magnetic mines throughout the asteroid belt, hiding them among the natural debris. Any ship attempting to activate its advanced propulsion systems risked attracting these primitive but lethal devices. They're not fighting the way they're supposed to, Zixtal's strategic officer observed, mandibles twitching in agitation. Every counter we deploy, they respond with something so basic our defenses aren't designed to stop it. On Earth, Dr. Chen presented the latest battle analysis to the Defense Council. The Concordat's fundamental mistake was assuming that technological advancement follows a linear path, he explained. They expected us to try to match their level of technology. Instead, we developed in directions they never imagined. The battle reached its turning point when the Concordat's flagship, Inevitable Order, attempted to launch a final, devastating attack. Its antimatter cannons powered up, capable of vaporizing entire asteroid clusters. But before they could fire, a swarm of what appeared to be simple maintenance robots attached themselves to the ship's hull. These devices, running on programming no more complex than a 20th century computer, began dismantling the ship's outer sensors. They weren't trying to defeat the advanced technology. They were simply preventing it from functioning, using the same basic principles that Earth construction workers use to demolish buildings. Send the message, Admiral Zhang commanded as the Concordat fleet fell into disarray. Across all frequencies, Earth broadcasted, "Your containment has failed. Your assumptions about humanity have proven false. We offer you one chance to withdraw and recognize Earth as an independent power, or we will demonstrate exactly how primitive we can become." The threat carried weight now. The Concordat had arrived expecting to contain a primitive species struggling to reach the stars. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that had turned their own technological superiority into a weakness. As the battered Concordat fleet retreated from the asteroid belt, Commander Zixtal faced a harsh reality. They had failed to contain humanity not because humans were more advanced, but because they had never stopped exploring simpler, more fundamental ways of solving problems. The Battle of the Asteroid Belt would become a turning point in the conflict, but not for the reasons either side initially expected. It wasn't a victory of advanced technology over primitive systems. It was proof that true advancement meant understanding when the simplest solution was also the most effective. In the aftermath of the asteroid belt disaster, the Concordat's Science Council convened an emergency session aboard their research station, Infinite Inquiry. The crystalline walls of the chamber reflected the agitation of its occupants as they struggled to understand their recent defeat. Lead researcher Valtic, a member of the silicon-based Symmetrians, projected her findings into the center of the chamber. "Our fundamental error," she began, her crystalline form pulsing with revelation, "was misinterpreting humanity's technological development pattern. The holographic display showed Earth's history, but not as the Concordat had previously viewed it. Where before they had seen a primitive species slowly crawling toward the stars, Galactic now highlighted something entirely different. Look at their adaptation rate," she continued. "When faced with a problem, humans don't wait to develop the perfect solution. They find immediate workable answers using whatever tools they have available. Then they improve upon these solutions incrementally." A quantum mind representative, appearing as a shimming cloud of coherent energy, moved forward. "Impossible. No species can advance without following the established technological progression. There are fundamental laws of development that cannot be circumvented." "That's exactly what we thought," Galactic responded. "And that's why we failed." She brought up footage from the asteroid belt battle. "We saw their chemical rockets and assumed primitive propulsion. We detected their radio waves and assumed primitive communication. We observed their binary computers and assumed primitive processing." The display shifted to show detailed analysis of human tactics. "But look at how they used these primitive technologies. They didn't try to match our quantum shields. They used simple particles to reprogram them. They didn't attempt to override our AI systems. They used basic resonance frequencies to disrupt our hull integrity." In a secure chamber aboard the Infinite Inquiry, a small group of researchers had begun a radical experiment. Led by Dr. Nick Stahl, Commander Zixtal's own offspring, they were attempting to understand humanity by thinking like them. "Remove all quantum technology," Nick Stahl instructed his team. "Use only tools that humans would have access to." The result was chaos at first, as the alien scientists struggled to work without their advanced systems. But gradually, something unexpected emerged. "They're not bound by our assumptions," Nick Stahl reported to the Science Council. "When we approach a problem, we look for the most advanced solution. Humans ask what works now with what they have. Their strength isn't in their technology, it's in their problem-solving methodology." On Earth, this revelation was being mirrored in an unexpected way. Dr. Elena Santos, who had first discovered the Concordat's communications, was now working with a defector, a young quantum mind who had become fascinated by human adaptability. "Your species confuses us," the alien, who had taken the name Alex, admitted as they studied human history together. "You developed nuclear weapons before achieving reliable spaceflight. You created global communication networks using primitive electromagnetic waves. You built artificial intelligence using binary systems we abandoned millennia ago." Santos smiled. "We work with what we have. When you can't go over an obstacle, you go around it, or under it, or through it. The method doesn't matter as much as reaching the goal." This understanding was spreading through the Concordat's ranks, particularly among their younger members. They began to see that humanity's seemingly chaotic development wasn't a sign of primitiveness. It was a different form of advancement altogether. In a bold move, Galactic proposed a radical theory to the Science Council. What if technological advancement isn't linear? What if humanity's primitive approach actually represents a more adaptable form of progress? The chamber erupted in debate, but the evidence was becoming harder to ignore. Humanity had turned the Concordat's own technological superiority against them, not by matching it, but by finding its fundamental weaknesses. Meanwhile, aboard the reformed Concordat flagship, now named New Understanding, Commander Zixtal reviewed the latest intelligence with growing concern. Humanity wasn't just defending anymore. They were innovating at an unprecedented rate, combining their primitive technology with captured Concordat systems in ways no one had thought possible. "They're not trying to catch up to us technologically," he realized, mandibles clicking in agitation. "They're forcing us to adapt to their way of thinking." Dr. Chen, monitoring Concordat communications from Earth, shared this insight with Admiral Zhang. "They're beginning to understand," he said. "The younger ones especially. They're seeing that true advancement isn't about having the most advanced technology. It's about using whatever tools you have most effectively. Zhang nodded, studying the latest battle plans. And that's why we'll win this war. Not because we're stronger or more advanced, but because we never forgot how to think outside their perfectly ordered box. As the conflict entered its next phase, both sides were changing. The Concordat was learning that their rigid adherence to technological progression had become a weakness, while humanity's adaptability was proving to be their greatest strength. The question was no longer whether humanity could match the Concordat's level of technology. The question was whether the Concordat could adapt quickly enough to face an enemy that had turned improvisation into an art form. The final confrontation between humanity and the stellar Concordat began not with a bang, but with silence. Every quantum communication system across the alien fleet suddenly went dark. Their perfect network, capable of instantaneous communication across light years, had been compromised not by advanced cyber warfare, but by a flood of simple radio signals that overwhelmed their quantum receivers. Admiral Sarah Zhang stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Prometheus, watching as the Concordat fleet's precise formation began to waver. "They still don't understand," she said to Dr. Chen, who had insisted on being present for this historic moment. "They think technology alone determines the outcome." The Concordat's response was predictable. They activated their backup quantum systems, only to find them already compromised. Human radio operators, using equipment that would have been familiar to their grandparents, had spent weeks broadcasting specific frequencies that created persistent interference patterns in the quantum field. Aboard the new understanding, Commander Zixtal faced a decision that would reshape the galaxy. His fleet still possessed overwhelming technological superiority. Their weapons could reduce planets to ash. Their shields could withstand nuclear bombardment. But none of that mattered if they couldn't coordinate their actions. The young ones were right. He chittered to his bridge crew. "We've been fighting the wrong war all along." The commander's next action shocked both sides. He ordered his communications officer to broadcast on the same primitive radio frequencies humanity was using. To Admiral Zhang of Earth, he transmitted, "We request a parley." The human response was immediate. "We accept, and we have a location in mind." That location proved to be yet another demonstration of humanity's unconventional thinking. Instead of a neutral space station or a diplomatic vessel, Zhang suggested they meet on Olympus Base, the same mining station that had helped turn the tide in the asteroid belt battle. As Zixtal's shuttle approached the station, he saw the truth that his people had missed. What looked like crude industrial equipment was actually an elegant blend of simple and advanced technology. Hydraulic systems worked alongside quantum computers. Chemical rockets complemented antimatter drives. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was overlooked. The meeting chamber itself embodied this philosophy. Humans had modified it to accommodate every species of the Concordat, not with advanced environmental systems, but with cleverly designed mechanical solutions that maintained different atmospheric conditions through simple air pressure management. "Welcome to humanity's future," Zhang greeted them. "Not the one you expected us to build, but the one we chose. The one that defeated us," Zixtal acknowledged. "Not through superior technology, but through superior thinking." Dr. Chen activated a holographic display, but not using Concordat technology. Instead, hundreds of small mirrors and lenses created a three-dimensional image through purely mechanical means. It showed Earth's solar system, but not as a territorial boundary. Instead, it displayed a network of cooperation between human and alien technology. "We don't want to replace your technology," Zhang explained. "We want to complement it. Where you see perfect solutions, we see opportunities for improvement through imperfection." Valtic, who had accompanied Zixtal as a scientific advisor, moved forward, her crystalline form reflecting the light in complex patterns. "You never needed to catch up to us technologically," she realized. "You were advancing in a completely different direction." "Every solution doesn't need to be perfect," Chen confirmed. "It just needs to work." And sometimes, the simplest solution is the most elegant. The peace treaty that emerged from that meeting was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Instead of technological exchange, it focused on methodological exchange. The Concordat would learn humanity's adaptability, while Earth would gain access to advanced alien technology, not to copy it, but to integrate it in their own unique way. As the treaty was signed, using both quantum encryption and simple paper documents, Zixtal turned to Jean. "We came to contain humanity because we feared you would disrupt our order. We never understood that disruption was exactly what we needed." "The universe is chaos," Jean replied. "The only way to truly advance is to embrace that chaos and learn to work with it, not against it." 1 year later, the first joint human Concordat research station opened in Earth orbit. Its design epitomized the new cooperation. Quantum computers ran alongside mechanical calculators, antimatter containment fields were backed up by magnetic bottles, and AI systems worked in concert with human intuition. But perhaps the most symbolic change was the station's name. Written in both human languages and Concordat script was a simple phrase that embodied humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization. "Perfect is the enemy of good." Dr. Elena Santos, who had first discovered the Concordat's presence, now led a team of human and alien scientists aboard the station. As she watched a group of young aliens excitedly learning to solve problems using primitive tools alongside advanced technology, she smiled. "They finally understand," she said to Alex, her quantum mind friend who had chosen to stay on Earth. "True advancement isn't about reaching perfection. It's about finding better ways to be imperfect." The stellar Concordat had come to contain what they saw as a primitive species. Instead, they found themselves revolutionized by that very species' primitive approach. Humanity had proven that the path forward wasn't always up. Sometimes it was sideways, backwards, or through seemingly impossible directions. In the end, humanity's victory came not from matching the aliens' technological perfection, but from showing them a different kind of perfection altogether. The perfect balance between innovation and practicality, between advancement and adaptability, between the simple and the sublime. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what both humanity and the Concordat needed.